everyone, and welcome to this session on farmer seed systems from Latin America. I'm very pleased and honored to moderate this discussion with four incredible seed guardians and seed warriors from 4 countries in the Americas. We have with us today Javier Carrera from the Seed Guardians Network in Ecuador, Valentina Vives from Semillas Austral Cooperative in Chile, Alba Portillo from the Red de Guardianes de Semillas de Vida in Colombia, Catiusa Vega from Ecotambo in Bolivia. They will all share the challenges and strategies that they are implementing in their struggle.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session on farmer seed systems from Latin America.
In their countries.
I'm very pleased and honored to moderate this discussion with four
As
incredible
we face
seed
multiple interconnected crises
from 4 countries in the Americas. We have with
biodiversity, erosion, climate change, and hunger. The role of seed diversity and seed sovereignty becomes critical.
In Chile.
The role of this seed sovereignty is also central if we want to transition towards diverse local agroecological food systems. But over the last decades, in much of the world, as in Latin America, we are witnessing a rapid erosion of seed diversity and seed sovereignty, especially thanks to the increasing concentration of control over seed and food by a small number of giant corporations, which are imposing legal frameworks privileging monoculture and monopoly-based industrial model of agriculture. Whether it is breeders' rights imposed through UPOV or patents on seed or seed laws that require compulsory registration, an arsenal of legal instruments are being invented and imposed undemocratically to criminalize farmer seed breeding, seed saving, and seed sharing. These laws are being framed everywhere, preventing us from responding to all the key emergencies of climate change that we are facing today, as well as preventing us from making the transition towards agroecology. All 4 of the panelists today, while sharing with us the struggles that they are facing in their country and the critical state of seed and of biodiversity, they will also tell us the strategies they are implementing to resist this corporate takeover of our food and seed, and how they are working towards a transition for a biodiversity-based agroecological food system. I will jump right in with Javier from Ecuador. Javier is an expert in regenerative food systems. He's a researcher, educator, and author, and the founder of Red de Guardianes de Semillas in Ecuador. Javier, could you tell us what are the threats to seed and food sovereignty that you're facing in Ecuador? And how is the Seed Guardian Network promoting the ecological and cultural regeneration in their territories?
Muchas gracias, Ruchi. Y
thank you, Ruchi. And good afternoon and good day to everyone. This is a huge question filled with many different aspects, but I will focus on 2. The first of those is the topic of the cultural loss that we have been suffering in our country due to the progress and advance of globalization. So, and I think this is probably the same in many of your countries. We've seen that people have left their own food systems in favor of a global system which is not very adapted to the local needs, and it also imposes forms of production and consumption of products that have nothing to do with the cultural identity, and that also threaten food sovereignty. This is nothing new. This is something that we've been seeing since the 60s with the arrival of the Green Revolution. This has been increasing in the last few years. We're lucky in Ecuador in that we are a peasant nation. It's true that many people are living in cities now, but the peasant heritage is just 1 or 2 generations back. So we've tried to promote and rescue this cultural tradition, this cultural food tradition, and we've been quite successful because people are really open to it. And something that is important to mention here is that firstly, we've been working on peasant empowerment, and what this means is that we are also farmers, producers. We're a network of around 100 families in 15 of the 20 or so regions in the country, and we're farmers. The difference with most of the population is that we are agroecologists. We are families that practice permaculture farming, and in our own homes, we practice the alternatives that we want to propose and offer to society. So when we bring our own proposals for society, these are proposals that we've already experienced ourselves and we know to work. Our objective is to get to the peasant families. It's not a kind of social help, it's really to do with sharing among equals some technical tools and seeds that are going to help families to build their own autonomy and independence and find their own location in the market. So to give you an idea, I'm going to share here on my screen. Just a second, please. It should be sharing the screen soon.
Estamos trabajando en esta zona, en estas zonas del Ecuador.
We're working in these areas of Ecuador with 182 peasant families. Most of them belong to indigenous groups. And what we do with them is to offer courses that we later hope to become opportunities for commercialization. We have a cooperative shop in Quito, which is the center of our circuit of commercialization on a national level. So the basic idea behind this is that we believe that seeds aren't going to be able to be maintained if they're not used. So it's no use to keep and save the seeds if they're not being used. The only way for these seeds to subsist is if people use them and then people consume the products that they make. And this is how we get to the commercialization stage. And then there's also a component here of learning, of teaching. And so throughout the years, we've been working with chefs in the Ancestral Seeds campaign. Here we have some of the ones that we've been working with, just to give a few examples. And what this shows is how this can have an influence on and have an effect on chefs who, above all, are young chefs who have an agroecological perspective, and they are also famous chefs in the country, and they're beginning to use these products that had been forgotten about through the years. With a few exceptions, perhaps you might not know these, or you might not have heard of these ancestral seeds and plants, and these are very easy to produce, but they're hard to sell because people don't always know about them. So we're working a lot on this topic of raising awareness as well. This also led us to create a festival. Last year during the festival, it was going to be a festival, a face-to-face festival, but in the end we had to make it an online one, and we had 18,800 participants, which was completely unexpected. It was a very high attendance. And now we're trying to turn the material that we used there and offered there into a permanent database. We'll also be able to offer grants to the peasant sector for an even lower cost they can access this knowledge. And this is an important component for us. We have to teach the population, teach the community, so they have a clear idea of what food sovereignty is, of what using ancestral seeds is about, and so that they can go into the market and choose the right products that really lead to regeneration. And we also have different political actors that will help us to implement that. And we'll talk about the necessary public policies later. Aside from this festival, we're also promoting this knowledge. And we do that through education over social media. We already have a growing number of followers on Facebook and Instagram. And last year, we reached 1,337,000 people with our publications on Facebook. And this was quite impressive, even for us. These are educational posts. I'm going to share now one of the photos of those of us who compose our network. We are an intercultural network here in Ecuador. And I also wanted to give you an example here of one of our posts on Facebook on ancestral seeds. This is a tree bean, that we have in our country, which people don't know how to use. And here we're telling you how to use that correctly. All of these are changes that we are promoting in society, and these have an impact. Sorry, I had a technical issue there. Can you hear me? Yeah? So you can't implement a full transformation of society if the right policies aren't there, and that's where we face a significant challenge. And it's the fact that the state is constantly supporting the interests of agro-industry, and this goes to the detriment of the interests of the population, clearly. Just one example from 2016, we already had a case with the National Assembly of Ecuador generating a proposal for seeds, which basically put seeds under the control of the state and obligated the sectorization of all of the seeds in the country. So we began a campaign there lasting 6 months with the different social movements, peasant movements in the country to stop and obstruct that lay, and we had quite a good success. The law which was approved found that seeds were the cultural heritage of the communities of Ecuador, and so they cannot be appropriated by the state or by the government. And we also created differentiated systems of seeds. On the one hand, conventional seeds and those called non-conventional seeds with our own seeds, which according to the law, we have the right to multiply and to exchange and also to sell freely without any kind of implications. I think this is a unique case in Latin America that we've managed to achieve this, that we've managed to be able to freely exchange seeds. However, the law isn't entirely favourable to our interests, and since 2017 we've been in a lawsuit which is against that law, and we're now working on another 2 related laws that affect the food system and that we think imply a huge risk that the population doesn't know about, and these are connected to this network of seeds, because if we don't have real control of our food system, if the law impedes us from producing food in accordance with our cultural traditions, then we're also not going to be able to preserve that. So what we try to do is we want the community and people to know about these. We want to make them agents to work against that, and we want to work towards favourable public policy. So we have hope because we've already made substantial achievements in this area, and we are creating social movements, comprehensive ones, via these tools. And what we are trying to do is really to live differently, experiment in our own lives, and also share our seeds with the population to try to implement social change. And I think I'm just about out of time, so thank you very much, and I'm sure that later on we'll have more time to talk. Thank you, Ruchi. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Javier, and thank you for sharing the incredible work that you guys are doing in Ecuador and the alliances that you're making with not just citizens, but chefs. Obviously, advocating to lawmakers is important for policy issues, but if we have to truly implement a transformative agroecology, we need to be working with all actors. And there's a lot of learning from Ecuador towards that. Next, we move to Bolivia. Catiusa Vega, Brazilian-based in the Bolivian Andes, has been working with rural development and agroecology in Bolivia since 2011. She's the founding member of the Association of Consumers and Producers, Ecotambo, and is currently an e-changer cooperator with Manca Sostenibile. Ecotamba, created in 2015, is an agroecological project focused on opening sustainable markets for peasant families and indigenous communities around Bolivia. Catiusa, could you tell us about the struggles that you are facing in Bolivia and the work of Ecotambo, especially in terms of the agricultural markets you are creating for peasants and how you're deepening regenerative processes in the countryside in Bolivia. Over to you.
Gracias, Ruchi. Buenas tardes, buenas noches a todas y todos.
Thank you, Ruchi. Good afternoon, good morning. I'm talking to you from Bolivia, sorry. I'm here with my young baby. We began working with Ecotambo in 2015 in a process which was somewhat in reverse to what our colleagues in Ecuador are doing. We've been working in the market, and then from the market we've begun a whole transformation and regeneration process in the national fields. In this sense, I'll begin sharing slides in a second with the philosophy that, based on the work of an economy of reciprocity, bringing indigenous communities and peasant farmers closer to those in the city, we thought we would be able to promote this agricultural biodiversity that we have of the seeds in the fields and the different agricultural areas of Bolivia. We wanted to be able to do this in order to conserve that so that their crops could somehow stop the genetic erosion in the fields, which have been caused by the industrial food system. The main threats we are facing now in Bolivia, and this is something we share with others in Latin America and others in the global south in general. This began in the 60s with the Green Revolution here in the country, and that was when the state began to shape an official system of seeds in the country. And this is something that, let me see if I can share the screen. Can you hear me? Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, we can hear you. Sorry, I'm having some technical problems here. Well, this is something that we've seen worsening through the years, this attempt by the state to control the seeds, above all for agro-industry. And this culminated in 1999 in Bolivia with the signature of the UGOV of 68. So then Bolivia is one of the signatories of that. And in 2005, we have the first approval of genetically modified soya. And at the moment, most of the soya produced here is genetically modified. The problem is that the agro-industrial corporations don't just stop there, and the process continues. So in 2018, a new Supreme Decree was approved, which favors the approval of other soya, and this then led to two decrees that approved the abbreviated processes for soya, cotton, corn, sugarcane, and wheat. I'd like to share my screen, but I'm not sure if I'm able to.
¿Me podrían confirmar?
Sí,
Am I sharing the screen with you? During the government of Jolly Nañez, when they issued this decrees of the brief procedures to approve these crops, there was a mobilization because this was done during the compulsory confinement due to COVID-19. There was a whole public campaign where a minister said that the Bolivian people consume industrialized food. There was a huge campaign of my family shopping, and the people were saying which were the actual food products they were buying. And the small laws that are in place, and one of the hopes we have with this government we have now is that from last year, they are saying that they're going to derogate these laws, and the vice president was in the agroecology summit in the previous December, saying that they were going to stop this law, but this hasn't happened yet. There's several laws that give us a lot of support in our struggle in keeping working with these free seats. We have the law 3525 and law 13 that support us. In the last year, I've been working a lot on the field, and I have been able to see that in the countryside, in indigenous communities, particularly, and in peasant communities, the official seed system, regulations are stronger in Santa Cruz, but the system itself is causing quite a strong erosion because there is an official system of trade of seeds that does not accept the selling of seeds that are not certified by CINEAF, and at the same time all the training process qualification system that is created by the agrochemical companies that is changing the outlook of people in the countryside concerning the traditional knowledge of the management of their own seeds. In this research, I have verified that in the indigenous and peasant communities, seeds reach them through different ways. Hybrid seeds come mostly because they buy them, they purchase them, and also by the donation of public and private sectors. Some indigenous communities, such as Guaranis, manage to get seeds, open pollination seeds, but seeds that are registered. And these communities start multiplying and replanting their own seeds. When they're looking for traditional seeds, they get these seeds by means of small purchases with people they know. And they do this traditional seed buying through their close people. The official purchasing process is quite cruel because if I belong to an indigenous community and we have our own corn seeds, for example, and if we have a problem, a flooding or any other environmental problem or fires, and we lose our crops and our seeds, the donation that come from through the official system, and therefore the seeds that come through this official or public or private donations are certified official seeds, and there's no possibility of having an NGO or a public institution to donate different types of seeds from other municipalities. In, in Bolivia, we have some gaps, legal gaps, which is good on the one hand, because in Bolivia we have the right of multiplying and replanting and do whatever we want with our own seeds for our own planting, but we cannot sell them. We can do this without entering the official certification system. This gap gives us a lot of scope. There's many organizations that do plant these by means of the seeds of a peasant organization, but there's always the risk that if the state finds out that you're carrying out these exchanges, they can you have to pay fines and they can punish you. Here we have a seed bank, a family seed bank of one of the in Saraipata. This is quite a traditional way of keeping their seeds, and here you have a community in Baures. We work with young people who rescued their seeds, and we also work with the old people from the community at preserving their traditional seeds for agroecology in terms of vegetables. We have a problem because all the regulations of traditional seeds are protecting the conventional chemically treated seeds. Therefore, any vegetable seeds that exist in the country in the commercial circuit is either imported or produced by peasants and public institutions, but within this official regulatory framework, there's no organic or traditional seeds in the official system, and that's quite a big problem because the people who grow their own food or produce it for sale always depend on the commercial seeds. Some families and communities that work commercially and have a great knowledge of technology, they grow their own seeds, but they also combine this with the seeds that they buy officially. Here we have a seed bank from a school in Samaipata, and here you can see cans that contain their own seeds. In Ecotambo, we work on the different subjects related to seeds. We have the photograph of Miss Alicia to show you a small system in the city of Alto. Can you hear me? Because I'm receiving messages or...
Sorry, Kati, we're also getting short on time. If you want to come back again in more detail after everyone's presented in the breakout session. We're running out of time.
But I can continue a little bit more or not?
We have a couple of seconds, literally.
Sorry. Okay.
I'll come back to you after Valentina and Albert done.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Kati. So we'll come back again to go into more detail on the work in Bolivia and the excellent work that Ecotambo is doing. In the meantime, I would love to invite Alba from Colombia. Alba Portillo is a seed guardian, agroecological producer, and a professional in agroforestry. Is the founder and coordinator of Red de Guardianes de Semillas de Vida, a network of farmers and seed guardians that operate in the south of Colombia. Alba, could you tell us the situation in Colombia? I understand there was a legislative bill that was presented last year to ban permit for GMO seeds in the country, and the work that the network is doing in rescuing, conserving, distributing seeds and strengthening the declaration of GMO-free territories. Over to you, Alba.
Muchas gracias, Ruchi, y pues.
Thank you very much, Ruchi, and welcome to this space to all the people who are listening to us. And I want to greet everybody who will be listening to us and maybe can accompany us in this process. I would like to share the screen so that we can illustrate the conversation. Can you confirm that you can see my screen? Is this correct?
bueno, ya Ruchi nos presentó, nosotros hacemos parte de una organización que se llama...
We are part of an organization called Guardianes de Semillas de Vida. We have been working for 18 years for the rescue, preservation, and conservation of the seeds. And we work with designs of agroecological systems because this is the only way we have to do it. From the foundation of organization until now, we have carried out many actions. We have around 402 partners in this organization. They have asked us to talk about the situation in our country. And of course, there are things that are common in many different places in Latin America. We all have the same issues. The threats related to the food crisis are very similar in the different countries. Some of our colleagues have already spoken about them. Some of the threats are, well, conventional agriculture in Colombia. It is a great threat for the loss of biodiversity in the different links of the food system. This is something that started more than 60 years ago. There's monocultures. In Colombia, we have permits for transgenic seeds. For the moment, we have 4 of them. One of them is corn, which is very important in Colombia. Also cotton, which is the first transgenic that came to Colombia in 2006. In 2006, the first GMO was a flower, and also the soya, transgenic soya plantations are also approved, but there's very little soya planted in our country. There's a great risk. Corn represents a great risk because it pollutes, contaminates the krill seeds. We have proven that some seeds that were traditionally preserved have been contaminated, polluted by this transgenic, and the government is just denying that this is happening. And we have not been able to control this contamination. We have talked about the loss of cultural identity also, which is one of the most important reasons. In Colombia, there's no public food policy that protects these rights. And we also see that the food crisis is not due to the lack of food. The food crisis is due to the way the food is distributed. Finally, I would like to say that this economic model that we're living is obsolete, and the government and the industry has been an accomplice of this world food imbalance. And we see that we need to generate this culture of ethics and peace on a daily basis. This should be a daily habit, not something that has to be reminded. I think this is one of the greatest threats we have. Many people know this and point this out, but it's important that to take this into account. Seeds are the first stage of the food. They belong to the peoples, and it is very important to take this into account. When a seed is sold, we are not selling the seed, but the work that it took to produce these seeds, because these seeds are priceless. Within the actions that have been have been developed throughout these years. We have been trying to regenerate this food system. And I think we should reflect on the fact on how we can assume our responsibilities in this food system. What can I do so that the seed heritage is not finished? We must promote greater diversity. We must grow the seeds. We must select them. We must preserve them. We must select the seeds that adapt themselves better to the climate changes. They must be open pollination seeds, and they must be quality seeds. This is something that we must all work on. Industry and governments, one of the things the reason why they don't use Creole seeds is that they say that they are less quality and they generate diseases, and that is not true. This is not due to the seeds. The diseases are caused by the imbalance in the ecosystems. The problem is not only caused by the people who grow the food, but also by the consumers. We must assume the responsibilities. We must transform reality. I must carry out some actions, and these transformations have to be physical too. When a square meter of land is transformed, is because that transformation has already taken place in the mindsets. So this is one of the main actions we must carry out. These are some of the actions that have to be carried out. Talking about seeds is talking about water, about the forest, about the communities who live there, talking about the soil. We cannot think one thing and act differently. Our actions must follow our thoughts. One of the strategies is the creation of seed centers where the seed is dynamized. We have three mechanisms, which is the lending, the exchange, and the selling of seeds. And we must have constant education information around seeds. We must raise awareness, mm, train people. The cropping must be constant. The process must be carried out continuously. We must continue the research as a constant work in order to create the biodiversity we need. In Colombia, the regulations are not protecting the rights of peasants. Quite the opposite, it has generated laws that are against this process, and there's some legal steps that are carried out also to that go against the preservation of the biodiversity and support transgenics. On the other hand,
so we're in this legal process, and we hope that we will have a good result in the end. And if we can't do that, then at least we will be raising awareness, because many people are in these systems who are working with this process. Let's continue. As a strategy, we have the topic of fair trade, different shorter processes of sale, produced without agrochemicals, and all of these kinds of situations that have already been mentioned. And lastly, just to finish, I did want to finish with this. The best strategies that we can implement as citizens are to conserve the live seeds in the territories. And we have to do, many of us have to do this because as individuals, we can't do this alone. We have to work together to help the food system. And we know that above all in Colombia, which has been a country very much affected by the war and by drug trafficking, we know that hope continues to be germinated in each seed sown. Many thanks, and I will give the floor to Richie.
Thank you so much, Alba, and thank you so much for showing us the incredible work that you are doing in Colombia. There's much to learn from all of you, for us too, all over the world. I hope to come back after our session to go into more details and for Kathy to finish her presentation as we end this. But before that, let me come to you, Valentina. Valentina is an environmental chemist by profession and the founding member of the Semillas Austral Cooperative in Chile. She's also the coordinator of the seed team for the same organization. The Semilla Austral Cooperative is a network of collaborators that have formed together for in situ conservation of traditional seeds and knowledge in Chile. Valentina, could you tell us about the situation in Chile and the work that the network is doing, not just for biodiversity conservation, but the implementation of agroecology, food sovereignty, and the restoration of social and ecological harmony? Thanks. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Ruchi, for your presentation and your introduction. Thank you to my colleagues, and also thank you to them for their presentations. It's extremely inspiring to hear you. It's not the first time we've met. We already know each other. I think 8 or 9 years ago, we began to collaborate and exchange experiences. It's always exciting and wonderful to be able to meet up in these events. So hi to everyone from the south of Chile. Today I'm here to share with you the process of the seed movement in Chile, and in particular the work that we've been doing with the cooperative Austral Seeds over 6 years. The cooperative began and was based on a network called the Network of Free Seeds of Chile, Semillas Libres de Chile. They are free in terms of intellectual sense, also free from genetically modified organisms, and also from agrochemicals. They're based on agroecology instead, as my colleagues have been talking about. Our challenges are fairly similar, or actually almost identical, based on what I've heard from the other countries speaking today. And our strategy in the last 6 years as a cooperative has mainly been based on strengthening work in the fields, the conservation on site, in the hands of the guardians and in the hands of the farmers. And we have a diversity of strategies that are mainly based on education and on the ongoing improvement of our processes. This supports us in terms of sharing information in a horizontal way, based on meetings, on exchanges of knowledge, and also through different spaces for training and for training one another. Our assemblies, for example, are spaces for self-training, where each of our members or families of our members forming part of our cooperative share their knowledge, whether that be in the their own production of seeds, in the ecological production of food, the preparation and conservation of food, technology suitable, technology based on nature, because as Alba mentioned and Javier mentioned it as well, working with seeds is working with a model and a means of life. We also see the work with seeds in a comprehensive way, and we focused on being able to guarantee the means of life as well in terms of the economic and monetary sense for the seed guardians, because the conditions in Chile and for all of Latin America are very unequal. They're unequal for those who live on the land and work from, and who live from the land as well, and for those based on the technical systems. If I'm talking too quickly for the interpreting, please let me know. So in Chile, we have this extensive inequality. We have unequal competition from the industrial systems of production and the peasant traditional systems of production and agroecological way of producing food. So our strategy is to ally together, and that's why we formed a cooperative, so that the small farmers and the small families can join forces in terms of volume and diversity of what they're producing. And that way, we try to conserve agrobiodiversity by reproducing it and recirculating it. So we don't only have the strategy of recuperation, but we also have the strategy of reintroduction and recirculation. And to that end, we sell seeds. But it's very important to mention that we don't sell the seeds so much, rather we ask for a fair price for the work that we do in terms of conserving and reproducing these seeds. We wouldn't be able to sell the seeds because these are inheritance from the planet, from humankind. It's a gift from the world. And based on this ethical foundation, that's what we work from. When we sell an envelope full of seeds, we tell the person, we hope that you don't buy from us again. We want you to reproduce these seeds. We want you to conserve, care for, and treasure these seeds and share them as best as you can. That's our policy as a cooperative. And we hope to be left without work, so to speak, in terms of conservation soon, so that people don't need to do this work. We want people to be using these seeds. This might sound crazy. We want our work to be geared more towards education and training of more seed guardians, and not so much focused on the sale of seeds. But we found that with COVID-19 and this emergency situation that we're in now, this health crisis and the lockdown of families, many have woken up and they've realized the importance of seeds and of food, and the importance of having healthy seeds, a strong collection of seeds and fertile seeds and seeds that you can trust in, and that's where they've come to seek us out. And so we've had to organize ourselves, coordinate, arrange ourselves with much more strength in terms of the sale of seeds, so that we can really fulfill the demand that we're seeing for fertile, trustworthy seeds, and we've been able to achieve that. I'm going to share some images now, just to add to this.
¿Sí se puede ver? ¿Me hacen así?
Can you see it? Can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see it? Yeah? Okay, so here is our very long and narrow country. As Richie mentioned, we're made up of almost 30 families working cooperatively. We're based in 8 regions of the country. We have 15 in total. And basically, we are organized and coordinated in terms of the production and recirculation of seeds. As Alba mentioned, the seeds are in peasant hands, in the hands of those who grow these products. And this is something we've been working on in the last few years, in reproducing them on the fields and to share them with the neighboring communities and neighboring families. And to do that, I'd like to share this image with our country. You can see the meeting points. The sound is cutting out, apologies. We've been facing challenges on the one hand, and we're also seeing the wide scope of territorial coverage throughout the country. The seed gatherings, because of our distance, these are between us, these are difficult. And in this last year, particularly with COVID-19, it's been particularly challenging. We've had all of our meetings online, and the seed exchanges haven't been happening as frequently. They've only been happening with neighboring families and communities, and more than anything, we've been working on the sale of seeds. And it's important, of course, to mention that we have a system of loans and a system of swaps and donations of seeds. So we've donated seeds to different projects of vegetable gardens or community vegetable gardens and kitchen gardens where food is produced collectively by different communities. And this is in addition to the sale of the seeds. We work, as you can see here in this graphic, we have the lighthouse, which is illuminating, as it gives information, it gives light in that kind of metaphor. The seeds gives light to the different houses of seeds, and it's a reciprocal work that makes it possible for the seed to circulate and then recirculate and recirculate. And in that way, we can keep fresh seeds from the year. We have a wide diversity, extensive diversity, and lately we've been working on generating greater volumes of seeds. Here are some images of the seeds that we conserve. All seeds are important to us, not just the seeds for vegetables. The interpreter apologizes, the sound is cutting out. Here you can see cotton, coffee cotton, which is a native one. And also we have this, which is more from the south. Here we have more images, and then we have this seed here of our national flower.
Less than a minute.
Entonces, bueno.
Okay, I will conclude now. The greatest challenge that we have here in Chile, as you already mentioned, is facing inequality and the political lobbying of the transnational corporations that have invaded our lands, producing genetically modified seeds through different hydroelectric dams and through deforestation and mining and other practices. These are our main battles at the moment, and we've been working from the smallest point. This is artisan work. We've also been working on the look of our different envelopes that we offer, and Ruchi, I'll stop in 10 seconds. We're also working on the free trade agreements. We're trying to reshape, and they're trying to reshape the seed laws, which today are very inefficient and they're damaging for traditional seeds. Here you can see
Valentina, sorry, I'm being told that
Trans-Pacific Partnership, Hunger Games.
We'll have to continue the breakout.
Muchas gracias,
Oh,
perdón.
okay, thank you, sorry.
I know it's impossible to make you
Sé
all
que es
give your
imposible
experience and your vast depth and breadth.
que todos ofrezcáis la experiencia y todo el conocimiento que tengáis en este poco tiempo.
I have a bunch of questions. I think we can carry
Tenemos muchas preguntas, creo que podemos seguir con algunas preguntas que, perdona, el sonido va y viene.
Thank you, Javier, Alba, Katiusa, and Valentina for sharing your experiences and your struggles. We have much to learn from each other. Let's continue this conversation in the breakout session then. Thank you very much, and thank you all for listening.